Okay, we're live. As a side note, my phone hates me, and I'm sorry. We're always delayed when it's my phone because for some reason it always times out. Anyway, welcome to Book Chats with Mostly Books. I'm Jody.
I'm Natasha.
Tonight we are going to be discussing The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. Have you read anything else by her? Random question.
No, not yet. I have
Neither.
one to read, but I haven't read it.
Okay, just curious. I guess tonight I get to do the synopsis, so bear with me because I normally make my other person do that. So The Broken Girls is dual timelines. It's centered around a boarding school that went up in like 1919 and then closed
1979.
I say, was it 79? Okay. And there was a missing persons case at that school in the 50s. And so we're getting a timeline of a point of view from the girls that were going to school in the 1950s leading up to the missing person. But we also have, in present day 2014, a reporter who is trying to investigate a cold case of her sister's murder where the body was found at the boarding school. Like field hockey lawn? Yeah, field hockey. That was right.
Yeah.
So she's reinvestigating this case because they're like going to reopen the school after they like refurbish it and everything. And so as she's researching, it's like bringing up all these loose ends.
Yeah.
And she's starting to look further into things, and then she goes down a huge rabbit hole, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, huge rabbit hole.
So the whole book is about these dual missing and murdered girls, basically, at this boarding school. That was not a very great synopsis. I'll work on that for next time.
I thought it was a good one.
What did you think of it?
I actually really liked this one a lot.
Me too.
A whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
I love that it's the mystery with the girls, but it does throw in a little ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how it works so well with the mysteries. It does. It's really good. And they don't try changing it. They keep it what it is.
What do you mean changing it?
Like, they don't try debunking the ghost factor.
Oh.
It stays a ghost story.
Yeah. You know, initially when I read the synopsis of this, and I was like, ghost story, psychological thriller.
You
Like,
wouldn't think it'd work.
With historical references. How is this going to work out?
Yeah.
But I agree. It was really good.
It was, yeah.
It all was relevant. Like, it
Yes.
wasn't like one storyline was pointless. Like, you needed both storylines going. And you needed the haunting of this weird, broken, horribly falling apart boarding school.
Yeah.
So I thought that whole eerie background was also really great.
I did too. I thought the whole and it worked so well
Mm-hmm.
with all of the mysteries going at once.
Mm-hmm. It kept you reading. This was
It really did.
really, really easy, quick read.
Yeah.
Like, you could sit down and read it in a day easily.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
If
For
you
sure.
wanted.
Yeah. It sucks you in right away, like page 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, again, because of the dual timelines, even when you hit a chapter, then you get sent into another timeline, and then you're like, well, that was a cliffhanger there, and I have to keep going each chapter.
Yeah. And I would say I've read some books where that does the dual stories, and there's always one I don't like as much as the other, and in this one I liked them both.
Me too.
I was never like, oh, man, this one now. Never. I was like, yes. We get to go back to 1950.
Yes!
And then, like, yeah, we're back in 2014. I never felt like.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Well, on that note, maybe we should start first then with the writing. What did you think of the writing?
I loved the writing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's one of the things that made the story work so well was her writing of how she did that.
With the timelines and all that?
the timelines and all that.
Mm-hmm. And then she had just some really great, really descriptive phrases that I was like, oh, I need to remember this. And there was one I really wanted to
I always said that I never remember
say.
them.
Okay. So it's when Fiona, our main character from 2014, is first driving up to Idlewild and looking at the school, and she describes driving into the driveway, looking at the buildings as hold on. So, 4 of the windows on the far end of the building were broken, looking like eyes that had blinked closed. The rest of the windows grinned down the driveway at the approaching cars. All the better to eat you with, my dear.
I loved that part too. One of my favorite
Yeah.
lines in that one. Just describing the way it looks down at you.
Yeah,
like
and
that ready to just eat you.
And the school really does, in a way.
Yeah.
Just like, you go in there and you're kind of just gone and forgotten.
Yep. Yep.
So I really liked her writing as well. She had a really great description of the snow, too, as, like, it was coming down and, like, blowing away as if it was those packing crates.
Oh, yeah.
She phrases it way better than that,
Yeah.
but I was like, oh my gosh, that's, like, the perfect description. You can totally see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought she described everything perfectly.
And I also really liked that her characters were a little blunt. Like,
oh, yeah. They're broken. I like that. They're really broken girls in there. They know it. Like
they will tell you what
Yep.
they really think.
Yep.
Whether you want to hear that or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so shall we talk characters?
Okay.
I guess since we're kind of headed that way anyway.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of Fiona?
I like Fiona, actually. She was kind of stuck
Yeah.
with her sister's death. That was 20 years ago. But she was 17, her sister was 20. You kind of understand. It's just been a long time.
Well, and not only that,
To
like,
still be struggling as much as she is.
it's 20 years later
Yeah.
from the death in 94, yeah. But it makes sense in the sense that Fiona looked to her oldest sister as a way to navigate her life.
Right.
So she basically got stunted, more or less, it feels like, at 17.
At 17.
Because she had no, I mean, maybe 20, because her sister was 20. But she had no reference on how to go after that.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I wore all of her hand-me-downs. I have watched what she watched. We talked boys, then, I talked what boys she wanted. And,
Yeah.
and I get that as a little sister.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it was unfortunate because it really just stunted her right there.
Yeah.
Once all that happened. And I mean, on top of it, her parent, and we can talk about all that later.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing, because I liked her, I do really like her so much.
Mm-hmm.
And you had talked about in the synopsis, she reopens the case, but they did have the killer arrested.
Yeah.
She sort of starts second guessing herself, and her obsession with it now being the 20-year anniversary coming up.
That was a really good point. Thank you. It wasn't a cold case. It was solved. He's been in prison the entire time.
Yeah.
It was not her sister's murder was handled.
Yeah.
And was done. It was closed and not a cold case. I apologize. Good catch.
Well, I mean, she reopens it. For her, it's like a cold case. So
yeah. I think that's why I thought of it that way, because she obsesses. She ends up
like it's a cold case. Like, there's been no answers.
And she had no closure, even though
I will say, he always claimed his innocence.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Murderer did.
It was the girlfriend, the sister's boyfriend.
It's always the boyfriend.
I know.
Like it's always the husband.
I was about to say the same thing.
For the record, she actually does say that in here.
Yeah. She does find out a lot more in the obsession, but they did have the right killer.
And it was kind of interesting, like you were saying, that she was really stuck on this, and she was she would wake up in the middle of the night and then couldn't sleep and would end up on this road,
right by where her sister's body was found at the school.
Yeah, I know. And her boyfriend called me I thought you were home in bed. What do you mean? I am.
Why are you there?
Mm-hmm.
This is an issue. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely
and it'd be
thing.
3 a.m, so obviously not safe either.
I know, out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
The school was really out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, sure, the town is not that far, but it's down this, weird road with, trees all over, and then it's, opens up to this school.
And trying to be I'm going to debunk and see how many cars actually drive by in the middle of the night.
Not many.
Yeah.
That was her verdict.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the 4 girls in 1950, the 4 that are staying at Idlewild, the boarding school. We could just start with Katie. What did you think of Katie?
I like Katie.
Me
She's
too.
tough. She picked her clique. And they all sort of take care of each other. And I feel like it is almost like she picked them. Even though they're roommates. She had other roommates she didn't like. Mm-hmm. And these ones she does.
Yeah, she didn't start fights with these ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a force to be reckoned with. I think she is a fierce girl. And I think you have to be, if you're sent to this boarding school, I mean, you're basically sent there because of some incident in your past where you are being sent away from your home in the 1950s. It wasn't like a glorified prep school by any means. It's not.
It's not.
Don't think that. It's really forgotten girls.
Girls that, forgotten, not, proper things like that. All of that in the 50s.
What about Roberta?
I like Roberta. She's a hockey player.
Yeah.
She's big, tough, also, sort of. I like her, too.
They're all actually kind of fierce in their own ways.
Yeah, strong in their own ways.
Yeah. And then there's Cece.
Yeah.
Who's a little softer, I think, than all the other girls. In the sense that she's just more of a nurturing presence. And I think that those girls needed that at the same time. Yeah. Not to say she won't do what needs to be done.
Right.
And then finally we have Sonia.
Sonia. She's sweet, quiet, French.
A refugee from World War II.
So no family left, except some great aunt and great uncle.
Who are sponsoring her to go to this school. They brought her over to America.
Yeah, they brought her here. But they're old and they don't want to take on another kid.
Because they never wanted kids.
Yeah. Or a kid. Yeah.
So I loved
she lives there.
This sisterhood. I thought they were such a great group of friends. I mean, they were really their only family. Like, nobody came to visit them to speak of. Yeah, sure, each one had an occasional visitor, like once a year.
Christmas, yeah, once a year.
But, like, they really needed each other, and I really liked that bond.
Yeah, I did too.
And we can come back to some of that later as well, because I don't want to do spoilers yet.
Okay.
So, yeah, great characters already. Like, sure, they're all a little bit flawed, and I think you see that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like Fiona was an unreliable narrator, as so many psychological thrillers can be.
I didn't either, which I liked that about her. I don't always like the unreliable narrator, especially when you're going back and forth in timelines. That can just make everything too much. So I really like that she was reliable. Yeah, and I should have also mentioned that the 1950s timeline is actually being told from all 4 of the girls at the boarding school. Oh, yeah. Which initially is like, oh, really? We're going to switch through this many characters' perspectives? But I actually liked that. I ended up liking that a lot, too. And, it takes a talented author to do that, because sometimes otherwise you're just like, why are we going through every cast? Yes. In this. Every character, do we really need to know them? In their perspective? Yeah. But in this case, I felt it added. It did. It added. You did need to know it. You did. Yeah, it had to be there. I felt like it needed it. It really gave you an overview of the school, of the way the school handles things, and as well as the ghost story. Yes. So, yeah. Do we want to talk about the ghost story with characters? Because she kind of is. She kind of is a character. And I don't think it's a spoiler if we bring it up. Because it's really in the beginning. It's in the beginning, yeah. Okay, so our ghost is called Mary Hand, and she's been haunting it pretty much from day one. Day one, yeah, I would say yes, 100% from day one. So what did you think of Mary and her spookiness? Mary, I think, is a little confusing for me. I don't think she's bad. I don't either. When you read it, I think at first you will think she's bad. Oh, yeah. Because it seems like she's mean. Yeah. But at the end, after reading the whole thing, I don't... Yeah, we'll come back to that part, yeah. I kind of agree, but I really liked this character added in, and it really is a character. It's not like just a figment of the girl's like side peripheral vision. Right. Like she felt very front and center in many scenes. Yes, I think so too, especially at the school in the 1950s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but even though later she's pretty front. Yeah, like, but even later, we just get a lot more of her there. I think. Yeah, because you get more of the backstory. You have to, get the backstory. Mm-hmm. Okay. Before we ruin this book for everyone in the world, do you have anything left you'd like to say? No, because I think I've accidentally already given a couple spoilers. Sorry. Okay, so with that being said, we really, really recommend this one. It's totally different kind of a mystery read. It has a lot of historical, it has the paranormal, and it is a psychological thriller. Yep. Oh, because we didn't mention, it does get into World War II some stuff. Yes. So that's the other historical besides just 1950s. And it brings up a very interesting part of World War II that I was unaware of. Yeah, me too. And yes, that was really interesting. Anyway, so that being said, go read this. Then come back and rewatch this because we'll have lots to tell you about it. Yeah. Yes. Spoilers from here. Okay. I don't know if we want to dive right into the end yet. I feel like maybe we build up to the end. Okay, that works for me. Okay, great. Yeah. There's so much that goes up to it. Yes, I completely agree. First off, I want to talk again, I think, about the boarding school. And these poor girls are sent here literally as a forgotten thing. And I feel like that whole sense of being forgotten was a very big theme in this whole storyline. And it was specifically forgotten girls. Yeah. And I thought that was, even in 2014, like,
like the way other cases were handled with Deb and then Helen.
Yeah.
They were just like, whatever, we're just going to slide this under. No one will miss these girls.
Right.
So it was an interesting,
That would have been back in like the early 90s. Right, in the book.
Yeah. Yeah, that part.
So it was consistent throughout the book. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, the whole police, we'll come back to that part. I don't want to jump there yet. So, okay, Mary Hand was very interesting, and I think now we can actually really go ahead and spoil that part.
Yeah.
Because her storyline is that in 1917, she got pregnant, and this is prior to the school being there.
16 years old.
And she was, so it's just her house and a church.
And a church, yep. This was their property.
And so she got pregnant, didn't tell anyone, had the child. The parents claimed the child was stillborn. Yeah. I'm saying this because she doesn't think that.
She doesn't think that, but yeah.
And they get into a big fight, and the dad, like...
She goes hysterical, wanting her baby.
Understandable. Like, totally understandable. And they, like, push her out into the cold?
Yeah, they lock her out in the cold winter night.
And she dies, like, curled up in the church.
She freezes to death. They find her the next day.
It's heartbreaking.
And they bury her with her baby on the grounds.
And they put the baby in a coffin, which I thought was an interesting note.
They were all in the coffin.
Were they both? I didn't know if
she... both together in the coffin when they exhume it at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. So they clearly, like...
But they didn't bury her in the family plot.
No, they buried her in this weird space that becomes a garden.
Yeah, super weird garden in between two buildings.
Like, what sun is going to hit that?
Yeah.
This moldy, stinky garden that no girl wanted to go do gardening weekly gardening. Who does a weekly gardening anyway?
I know.
1950s, man. So needless to say, there was a lot of imagery of Mary, like, begging the girls to let her into the freezing
where
cold.
They hear lots of banging on doors and saying, "Let me in."
And I think that happened. Like, we don't really get closure on that statement.
We don't know exactly what happened.
But I think
she was locked out. But yeah,
her parents totally kept her out and listened.
Yeah.
And then when she would see the girls otherwise, if she wasn't doing that, she showed them the worst moment of their life.
Yeah. What made them the way they were? Why they were pretty much sent there? Yeah. What broke them?
Now, and which seems really cruel. But then when you know
seem really cruel.
What happened to her, it's like, well, if she's like living in her misery over and over and over again, so it makes sense that she would show you your misery as like a companion. Weirdly,
it's like a companion.
Like, so you can.
I thought as like a way to cope with it. Like, they've all blocked it out.
Oh, really?
And she's showing them like cope and move on.
Oh,
that's
really?
How I took it sort of. That's why I didn't take her as such a bad person by the end. It was sort of like, you're still alive, so
go live.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I totally took it as, I need someone to share in my loneliness, and this is how I can reach you. And so I didn't think it was cruel either. I just didn't think she had any other way to communicate with them.
Yeah.
Oh, the scene where she slams the door in the classroom.
And they all hear it.
Yeah.
Like, even the teacher hears it, and everyone freaks out.
And then poor Katie gets blamed for it. And she's like, how would I have done this? I'm sitting right here.
And they all even heard her. I think she said, let me in, or something when the door blew open. She said something,
So needless to say, this is a spooky house. Even, like, the teachers, when
Fiona
are scared, like, interviews them later, was like, we were all haunted. That was a haunting place. Why would you
Nobody was happy there. Nobody wanted to be there. And the teachers were mean to the girls, though, too.
And I thought that was an interesting parallel when we get to Sonia's storyline. And we can come back to that in just a second. I also just wanted to say, why would you teach there for 30 plus years?
Well, like they said, they had no other jobs. It was the 50s, and
like, you could get a teaching job somewhere else.
Maybe.
They all went on and taught after. So it seemed they were fine. I'm like, I feel like
in the 70s, I don't know if you'd have so much luck in the 50s looking.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe.
For
and
a
full-time
job as a teacher. I feel like.
And if you're a spinster, I guess, and didn't have your whatever, sure, maybe that would make it harder. Okay.
You don't want to leave your little town. You're stuck there because you refuse to leave.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have anything else on Mary? Because I'm going to move to Sonia.
You move to Sonia.
Okay, so Sonia is our missing persons in the 1950s. She gets invited to come visit her aunt and uncle, and she's excited, really, really excited, and for the weekend. So she goes off and does that, and then mysteriously comes back early and they find her suitcase on Idlewild's
Well, first
ground.
she's missing. She doesn't come back. They find her suitcase when they're searching
That's
for her.
true.
Yeah.
But she came back.
Yeah, they just don't really know she came back.
Well, the girls do. The 4 girls know.
No, yeah, but
They
not
knew
at first.
always. They knew
Yeah.
always that something bad happened.
They knew always something bad happened.
Yeah.
But they weren't exactly sure where she was when it happened.
And they found the suitcase like
they
the
find
next
the
day.
suitcase. Yeah.
So, but yes.
The cops
that's
just
fair.
still said in the 50s she still ran away with nothing.
With a boy. Why would you not take
They
your
thought
suitcase?
Maybe with a boy, yeah. Why would you not take anything?
Even if it is a boy.
Oh, no. These don't need clothes. Come on.
I mean,
Seriously.
yeah. So needless to say, that was definitely brushed under
Yeah.
the table. Is that the phrase? Sure.
Sure.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
And the girls are very upset about this. But then as we keep going through the story, we find out that Sonia was actually in a prison concentration camp in... Where was it? Because I wasn't really clear on where the location was, because then when the Cold War happened, it kind of seemed like it was on the Russian side of the line.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly
And the Russians
where it
were the
was
ones who
either.
freed her
Uh-huh.
at the end. But, oh my gracious,
Yeah, it was
her
hard to figure out where exactly.
her whole story was heartbreaking. So
Yeah.
her dad went to a prison camp for being an outspoken writer,
Mm-hmm.
and then her and her mom were delivering pamphlets for the resistance and were taken because of that. It wasn't because they were Jewish, but they were still
Right.
taken.
Right.
And
they
I
were on the opposite side.
say that because that is actually relevant to the story, the
Yeah.
fact that she's not Jewish.
She's not Jewish,
So anyway, as we're getting the storyline of the concentration camp, I really felt like as we watched those women be cruel to these other women, because it's
Yeah.
women guards, it's not
they're
men
in a women
in this.
concentration camp guarded by women, being
And-
treated horribly bad.
Many of them were people
other
from the
women.
town that just
Yeah.
wanted a job.
Needed
I'm not going to do air
needed
quotes
a job.
because
Right.
it wouldn't be
We don't know how it was.
what I would do.
Right. Right.
I don't know what would make you do that, but at any rate, some people
or even
were.
if you have to, it does. I don't know why you have to be so cruel.
They were so
Like they were very cruel.
Yeah.
Like, just to be that way.
making him like stand out in the sun just for hours on end for roll. I'm gonna do air quotes again. So roll call. I'm gonna put my hands down. Yeah, it was just cruel to be cruel, and then you
Yeah.
wonder if they were always like that.
Yeah.
Because how do you just
That's why
turn
they
a
chose
switch?
that job. They're like, oh, I could totally do that.
I know. I mean, I feel like you have to be somewhat
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Evil.
Yep.
To be that person.
Evil to be that doing that. I
So
agree.
anyway, so we're watching that, and at the same time, the teachers I kind of felt like were the same way.
Yeah, they were mean to be mean. Yeah. They
Yeah,
were.
and I'm like, and these are your fellow women. Why would you do this? Like,
right.
and you're going like, especially the teachers with the girls, like you're going
Especially and the teachers,
through all of that.
They
with
know what their past is. So a lot of the teachers know the traumatic experience they've been through, and they still treat them like they're horribly bad people. They
Yeah.
have no understanding of, oh, well, they went through this. Maybe I should be nice.
Well,
there is none of that.
and even some things as basic like puberty things, they like punish them over things like that, and
Yeah.
you're just like, whoa, you've been there. Why are you like this?
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought that was a very interesting parallel. Not that the teachers were in any way as bad.
Right. I wouldn't
As-
say they were as bad, obviously.
But I was really heartbroken for Sonia to have gone from surviving that
Yes.
to coming to this school.
To coming to that school and then dying that way and everyone forgetting. Like, nobody really looking or caring except for her 3 roommates.
Yeah. Yeah, and so who always thought she was murdered.
Yeah.
And at this point, I feel it's safe to say that when Fiona comes back the first time to the Idlewild boarding school, they find a body in the well,
Yeah.
which is found out to be Sonia.
They do find out it's Sonia.
She wasn't missing, which they knew.
Yeah.
But no one went looking for her.
Yep. So she's found at the bottom of the well with her skull smashed in.
Mm-hmm.
So now you know for sure she's murdered.
What did you think about that outcome? Were you surprised who the murderer of Sonia's was?
I think so. But as you read it, you kind of start guessing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I liked how that was. I thought that was a nice twist in the middle.
Yeah, and then I liked the closure on that one.
I loved the closure on that one too.
When the three girls
at that point, yeah,
go back.
They had
and confront her.
a long plan, revenge plan. They planned from when she went missing until they figured it out.
Oh, right, because that was like in the 70s as well when they find out who's. Well, they didn't officially find out No, they did officially find out that Sonia was murdered. They just didn't know where the body was.
Yeah, they never could find the body.
Should we just tell them? It's not someone at the school.
Yeah. We said spoilers. Sorry, guys.
So Sonia's murderer was an ex-Nazi that was actually at the prison camp and was one of the guards.
Yep, it was a woman that recognized her. They recognized each other, and she got scared she'd tell. Because she got scared she'd tell.
Yeah, and that was just
and she knew where she was going because she had to buy her train ticket from her.
Yeah, because the gal was a travel agent at that stage. Yep. And
so
she went to trial.
I don't even know if I think she recognized Sonia. I don't even realize if... she did recognize her, right? Okay, I was right.
So the prologue
is that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
It was actually a really good prologue. I have issues with prologues and epilogues, and I thought this prologue was quite good.
It was good.
I didn't like the epilogue.
Yeah.
I liked the epilogue, but again, it could have just been a last chapter, not an epilogue.
It could have been a last chapter. Too. I always forget that there's an epilogue at this one.
Mm-hmm, because it's just really another chapter. Yeah. It just wraps everything.
Yeah.
Finally up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, it's funny, as we're talking about this, it feels very disconnected, like all these cases, because then you add in Fiona's sister, which we get resolution on that, although it's the same resolution she always kind of had.
Yeah, she already knew it. She just actually had the proof.
Yeah.
For sure, without a doubt.
And I guess she didn't realize how corrupt the police force was, so she didn't know that part.
In her town.
Yeah, her proof was.
That was her proof.
But it really was the boyfriend.
Yeah.
So she always had that closure.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't always have it, but she did finally, I guess, get it again. I don't know. It was kind of weird because it's kind of like you learned something, but you didn't learn that much more of that case.
But it sort of helped her get reconnected back with her dad because when her sister died, their whole family sort of just separated. Mm-hmm. And there was no coping anywhere for any of them. And she did stay with her dad when she started researching this again. They got, I think, reconnected. So I think that sort of helped with closure.
What did you think of her being a journalist and her boyfriend being a cop relationship?
I liked it.
I did too.
Yeah.
I was like, team up.
Yes, and I like that they teamed up.
I did too.
So I did like it. They did have to, in the beginning, I felt like struggle a little bit when she's like, I don't go into his work. If I'm going to come visit him, he'll come out to me. Because she can't go in there because she's a journalist and they hate her.
Right.
But they managed.
It didn't ever bother them.
It didn't ever bother them.
It bothered everyone around them.
Yeah.
Like, specifically his father, which now we know why.
Yeah.
It bothered him so much. But, like, that, when they went to dinner and he was like, you are the reason he's not getting promoted.
Oh, yeah.
That was so cold.
And
like,
probably not even true.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I did enjoy that he's not in the force anymore.
Yes.
Once he, like, kind of...
Well, once we can say spoilers, right?
You've said it several times.
Okay. Once she starts finding everything out and his dad tries to kill her and shoots at his own son, fixes...
Wasn't that messed up?
He doesn't really... I don't know. Sort of fixes their issue with his dad. Now he's got one too, so.
I loved when she went in and met with the interim chief of police and he was like blaming her and she's like, this isn't my fault. Like, I'm not the reporter anymore. And he kept being like, your father's doing this and you're doing, which they were, but still, like, I'm not the reporter you need to call off. Right. And she just walks out and she's like, yeah, they're just going to blame me for a while. Yeah. But like, you're so corrupt. It's not my fault. You guys made these decisions. Yep. It's not my issue if you have 4 that are now suspended and you have to pay overtime. Like,
right. So she finds out they cover up murders and, get their friends off of whatever they've done wrong.
Yeah, like a lot on the police force.
So they tried covering her sister's murder and they did cover another murder. It wasn't a murder.
But it was
close. Pretty close. He almost beat another girl to death. And they covered that up. And then he started dating her sister and did kill her.
Did you think it was messed up when Fiona's boyfriend, which at the time was chief of police during Fiona's sister's murder and all that. But did you find it interesting when he was like, well, they were Fiona's like family?
Dad.
Yeah, sorry, what did I say?
Fiona's boyfriend.
Oh, dad. I said dad,
Okay.
and then it was chief of police. Sorry.
Okay.
And then I may have
like,
gotten...
wait, what? Okay.
It got a little steppish there as I kept going and anyway, got lost. But I thought it was interesting when the dad, former chief of police there, how's that? Was like, so we should also have noted, I guess, that Deb, which is Fiona's sister, boyfriend, was very high, like, in society. Yeah. They were the rich family. They owned all the land. They were thought well of. The school.
Yeah. Even where her body was found.
But he was like, they're pretty much my family. They were more family to me than my own wife and, like, kids. And I was like, this weird family? Like, this random... Like, why would you think that? And then he was all upset that they used him. And, like, what did he think was going to happen? And why are you mad at then Fiona for this?
Right.
You should have made better decisions in your police career. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was bad.
It was bad.
It was just bad. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't just him either. It was
It
was a lot of the force.
A lot of them.
That was when you're going to have to, like, rehire everyone.
Yeah. For
Start
sure.
over.
Start all the way over. All the way.
Yeah, and then being mad at his son for not being the kind of cop he is, because his son was like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
That's not who I am.
And then his son even remembering things from when he was a kid, like going on a ride-along, and they got called to a domestic violence, and he comes back in the car, and he's like, it's nothing, I'm friends with his brother. Family comes first. So, yes, he saw his dad let someone else go from beating his wife.
Yeah.
But he didn't really remember it until all this is coming back.
Great police work there.
Right.
Yeah. So
again, helping their friends.
It was definitely one of those small town stories where it's all very circular because no one's left, and all of this is related and yet very unrelated. All these.
Yes, it's all like related to the school, but not really related to the other people. Really, I guess.
Like they were all
the school
independent.
Relates.
Yeah. It just was this one place had so many.
The school related to everyone.
Like murders and missing girls and.
So he kills the sister and just dumps her body there. So he didn't actually kill her there.
No,
but they dumped the body there.
And I'm sure he saw Mary.
So fast. Yeah, and that's what they think, that because he didn't follow his plan, that's why he got caught.
Yeah, they think that the boyfriend, got scared away.
He got scared and dropped her and left.
Which I'm sure.
Out, which probably, yes.
Because Mary was on the fields. Yeah. We've seen her there.
Often, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I liked that Mary was actually a ghost. And like you said, they didn't it was just the wind.
Or make it was another person that just hung around. Yeah.
No, it was just, that land needed to be cleansed.
It did.
And I think that they were going to do that.
Yeah.
Like, they found, hopefully, all of the bodies at this stage. And have now buried them properly.
Yeah.
And we did kind of feel like Mary left at the end, I felt like.
Yeah.
With her baby.
She got her closure.
And it seemed like...
The proof of what happened to her came out. And
Sonia was put to rest, finally, as well. And then it felt like Deb really was, as well. Yeah. Even though she had been.
I did like, at the school in 2014, when she's there, Fiona... I always think of the stupid movie, Fiona! I say her name.
Is that
Euro Trip?
Oh my gosh. I should have known.
Anyways... when Fiona was at the school, she saw Sonia as a ghost, even though she'd never seen a picture of her. She was able to figure out by her size and everything that it was her. She saw her sister at
Sonia
the school.
helped save her at the end,
and
too.
so does Deb. Her sister and Deb, I think, help her.
Yeah, I think they did too. Okay, the only weird part...
And she sees Mary there. So it's like they're almost all... there sometimes, because she asked her sister if she's always here, and she said only sometimes.
But they're all afraid of Mary too, which was interesting.
They are all afraid of Mary.
Yeah. So the only thing at the end I was kind of like, about was like when she suddenly actually was having a cold and a flu. Like, you know, when the ex-chief of police comes and he's like, you're looking pretty pale. Let's put you in the car.
Right.
But really he's like trying to lure her away to be like, to kill her off.
To try to kill her, yeah. She's
but then
learned
she
too much.
Truly was having the flu.
Yeah,
like at one
really
point,
sick.
when she's laying in the dorm room hiding from him, and she's talking about her like fever because that's when she sees Deb, and I'm like, is this like a hallucinating fever dream? Anyway, that was the only part that I was like, where did this cold and flu come from? Because she never acknowledges feeling sick. It's like everyone else around, even the guy at the old drive-in was like called her dad and was like, she looked kind of sick.
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't she acknowledge that and tell us that?
She didn't want to stop what she was doing, and as soon as you acknowledge you're sick, you're going to feel sick.
Right? I think that was
she
totally...
was trying to not feel sick,
it too.
She's like, I can do it, I just got to get through the night.
Her, like, eating habits were not good either.
Oh, yeah, no.
Like,
Oh, her sleeping habits, eating habits.
so it's no wonder she got sick.
Yeah.
But, like, I ate a pack of crackers. That was dinner.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, great. Very nutritious.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any final thoughts? Have we not talked about something that is just eating at you that you really want to talk about?
Oh, we didn't talk about what the girls did when they found out who killed Sonia as women, because they see the news of someone in their town coming up, or close to their town, come up on trial. That's really when they figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went over to her, an old woman, pretty much watched her die.
Well, I mean,
after, I think, sort of killing her. They had their long revenge plan.
I feel that's debatable. I feel like they commented several times on how she was already not well and very reclusive.
Yeah. Well, she's a Nazi hiding. So
then they started asking questions, and then it was like when they really like wouldn't let go, and they were like, "Where's Sonia's body? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?" Then she had her heart attack, and they could have pushed her with the stress of the interview.
Yeah. Yes.
And they probably could have called 911.
Yes.
However,
they all pleasantly watched her die, which they felt justified in doing. I sort of did too, reading that. Actually, like, okay, you deserve that.
I think how many people
she killed. You probably deserved worse than that.
Yeah, I mean, think literally how many people, and that was a very peaceful death.
Yes.
Compared to all the deaths
that she caused.
And you have to remember that prison camp.
And she killed a girl. She was little. They talked about how small she was for 15.
Well, and she probably killed children at the prison camp,
oh, yeah, for sure. This wasn't in the concentration camp. She just followed her, stalked her in the night. And...
So I get the decision as well.
Yes, I do too.
I just liked when Katie was like, "So Fiona, do we need to have a conversation on this?"
Right.
She's like, "Oh, not really."
She's got great lawyers.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. It was all wrapped up, but not in like a weird way.
Yes, everything wrapped up. Everything had a nice end, sort of, and it all flowed and worked out really well.
Mm-hmm. Agree. Go read this.
Yep. Right away.
Okay. Anything else?
I think we're good.
Okay, I forgot to grab the book. Alrighty. For next week, Melissa and I are going to be reading The Serpent and the Dove, which is the first book in a YA fantasy trilogy about witches and witch hunters and marriages that may come out of that.
Oh, that sounds
There's a lot more to it than that, but that's all I'm going to say. I think on that note. So definitely tune in again next Sunday at 5 p.m. because that's our new time, and we are back to being live again now that it's June. So, yeah, I think that's it.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.